right, hey there guys, Sam here with you. It's, what is it, Tuesday, February 26th, and we're going to do an analysis of the Nasdaq. This Nasdaq 100. Got the this is the NQ1, so I've got the continuous futures contract here. I've got a daily chart, and I'm in log scale just to get a little bit of better separation here so we can see it. It's just going into log just pops it up a little bit on the lower degrees here, so as we compress up here, we can see that subdivision a bit better. Now, I just did kind of a quickie run through on Twitter with this. There is this tendency that you see being repeated over and over. It looks like we get an expanded flat here. It's not quite. You get a more traditional C here. You might call that a double bottom. But this ABC, it's very dramatic up here. It's harder to see. Let me open this up. Here's a fairly good example of it. It's very much like Bitcoin was in 2017, where you had these corrections. I'm so sorry. You had these corrections doing that AB. The C would not get to a new low. Here, very strong trending market. It's not uncommon to see that. Now the correction, well, all the subdivision is here for this to be a significant top. So you might, at some degree, having seen all the number of times here, maybe we have something like that going again. Hard to ignore that, but boy, this correction has been a bitch. There's been so many false. I mean, it's talk about a V bottom, right? It's about as good as they get. I'm going to key again. It's unusual, but you have to kind of work through this. There's been so many points where you thought, oh, okay, here comes the 4 into the 5, and it just hasn't materialized. Well, you might have been thinking 1, 2, 3, same thing here. 1, 2, 3, 4. It doesn't happen. So you have to kind of work backwards and say, okay, well, if I'm not getting the good all of the C's have just been a real bear to get any subdivision on. Even if I go down to the 12-hour here, yeah, that might not be enough. Let's go 4-hour. Then we can go out of log scale now that we're up here. ABC, it's hard to miss that. Hard to interpret that as anything else, right? It's ABC, then we go ABC. So you might have been thinking, well, since this is such a clear, I think it was technical as well, if I recall. We've been through this a couple of times. There's your 50. Shit, I mean, awfully low, but this move here is certainly realized. So there's the trade. ABC, then we've shown this before here. So look to the 50. Vegas wave. They can't quite make the golden zone here, but get second target here. Looks like another ABC. If you keep pulling and you kind of you're disappointed here. You're not getting that 5. So at this point, it looks like just working backwards. Now, of course, benefit of hindsight. Plenty of opportunities. This in particular it looked like this was going to go A, B, and then you'd have, or pardon me, 1, 2, 3, 4. Looks like that was all teed to go down. So perhaps this was an A, B, C, and you'd come down here to finish that well, in that case, it would have been a motive, or pardon me, it would have been an impulse to finish down there. It's all set to go, just it doesn't come through. So it looks like it's just a series of ABCs implying W, X, Y, X, Z. Well, then again, as I was just showed this over on Twitter, you got to back up and say, well, why do we stop here? What? Right? There's nothing random, no random pivots. Why do we stop there? Well, I think I have to go to a 12-hour to get it. So I'm just going to grab from this low over here. I mean, wouldn't that be the most obvious thing to do? Right? Just grab the dominant to dominant. What do we do? Well, there's the slight front run on the 50. So there is no random, oh, wonder why it stopped there. There's always a reason. So there it is. Right? We know why. Now, are we going to that algo target? How do you bet against that? Or so could be just as I was showing. Could we have something like this before we go down? We said, as we did here, and the one before, and the one before. Certainly possible. So this is your key pivot here. So if this, as I suggested earlier, the other implication would be if this is the 4 of the larger degree, could we be starting into an extension in the 5th? Certainly possible. Given that retrace to the 50 where you'd be anticipating a 2, I've got a completed impulse here. Right? I think I'm fairly confident in that statement here. All the subdivision plays, it's all there. The 3, the 3, the 3, and the 5, the 5. It's very clear that you've got a completed impulse, but that doesn't mean trend's over. We've got the major top in. While it's certainly possible, this, well, you can think of it, you know, it's very, very common for the A wave. So maybe without the complexity, just to simplify it, we're going to do something like that. But that would also imply that if we're going to do a giant, right, ignore the subdivision just for the larger structure. If we were going to do an ABC, something like that, again, still, right, it would imply that this would just be the 1-2 of a what in this case would be an extension in the fifth. That would imply dramatically higher prices. Why? So with this, given this price action, I don't see how you'd be thinking otherwise. What's the alternative? I mean, you don't have a 1, so you might be thinking, oh, okay, well, if this is the dominant top from the 09 low, well, then I'd be looking for, maybe you'd be thinking this, right? So if we're going to do 50% of the whole thing, maybe you'd be thinking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the A of the larger degree. All right, so if you pull that back and you think, could that make sense if I'm going to retrace this whole thing? See if I can get it all back together. All right, so here's our 09 low. So let's think about it. If we're trying to get to a wave 2, if this is a completed pivot up here, well, here's the area we're trying to get to. So if it, again, I'm in log scale, so it's going to, well, let me take it out. So it's going to distort that a little bit. So here's the full pull. Here's what we're trying to get to. Could that be A? Well, that'd be one hell of a, are we going to go deeper than that? Again, I'm just kind of eyeballing here. That may be too much for the 3. Maybe we get something shorter, something like that. Maybe we do get so A, B, C. Wouldn't be crazy. And now you're looking to get all, oh, shit, sorry. Let's get the whole thing back. So from our that's actually the 08 low. All right. Put it over here. Would that be crazy? You know, I'm just free drawing here, but could this just be the start of an A wave? That actually makes more sense to me. Otherwise, we're going to have one hell of an extension here in the fifth. But back to the, get this off, and here we'll get that off. Back to where we are now. Where is there a trade here? Well, you know, I bring this all back together here. Let me go to a 4-hour here. All right, so it's bears have just been crushed, with the exception of this price action here. Every time this has been coming up, thinking, oh well, so it was the first one was right here. You're thinking 1, 2, 3, 4. You're anticipating that's going to go. It doesn't happen, right? So it just keeps going. It's just been unbelievable. From what we get, and NQ we're at 58.19, and we're up here at 71.73. Just amazing. So because it's a clear impulse, well, probably multiple ways to count it here, but at its base structure here, you can make a pretty strong case that we've got a 3, 4, and heading towards the 5 there. So you've got your impulse, and even this still looks like you've got an extension in the fifth. It does kind of feel like it's running out of steam here, just the arc of it, right? You can see the angle, the pitch is starting to fade a little bit, and you've got plenty of divergence here. Again, I was just showing this on the short version over on Twitter. There's all that volume divergence here that you can see in the oscillator, in the Elliott oscillator. Same thing, just lots of divergence showing up as we just look like we're fading here. So that, I'm not suggesting tops in, but there certainly is the setup here for this impulse to start a correction. So if we pull from that low here, which no reason not to, this would be the area where you'd be looking. If it's a completed impulse, we want to start looking between the 50 and the 618. So what could trigger that? Well, it's, anyone's guess, right? We had Powell speaking today, and the market seems to interpret it. Interprets it with without reservation, and it's like, okay, party's still on. We're going to keep going. There's not. The geometry is a little tricky in here because we're fading here. So as we go, so even if I just try a channel, so this was fairly good. It's kind of interesting here. If I just tighten that trend line up, we're kind of revisiting the backside of it. So where, right, would you use this? This is not uncommon. So one thing I would not be advocating is shorting up here. That's me. So if I were looking for the short, one, I'd do it with options, and two, I would wait for that before I got that. It's just this has been, bears getting slaughtered at every turn. Unless you're trading short term, you're day trading. Plenty of opportunity on the shorts on the day trade. But if you're swing trading this, boy, bears have just been eaten alive all the way up because the V bottom is not the norm. Sure, we see them, but it's unusual is the wrong word. We certainly see them, but it's dramatic. It's not what you would not anticipate. Oh, V bottom is in, right? But we certainly see them, particularly in the indexes. So with that, is there another? Could this all just be? Do we need to relabel here? Well, again, I come back here. Here's where you can use the oscillator here. Well, here was the peak of it since this low. Here's the biggest push right here. Then we get a little more divergence, a little more divergence, a little more divergence. Does it feel like we could roll over here? Sure is teed up for it. So you got to look and say, well, are we technical up here? What do we do? Well, here's a to the tick. I say so many times, right? So there we go. So there's 50 to the tick. We go up. They've already hit the algo target. That trade is come and gone. So is there a trade to be short? Well, a target is not a reason to be selling. What it's doing is identifying what the algo did last. So we can certainly, let me get this off of here. We can certainly anticipate that we've got a technical swing here. So where's the next trade? It's hard not to be thinking, well, why? Until it breaks, you trade them till they fail. So until it breaks, why would you not be looking for something like that? Maybe that's got one more kick in it. So nothing says we have to be done up here. We'll be going here. Maybe this has to get relabeled. The 3 ends up over here. 4 ends up over here. Certainly possible. It looks less likely here. So but again, it's just a swing. So are you trying to work around the Elliott count, or are you trying to pay attention to what the algorithms did last, right? We know that odds are very high that there will be a technical reaction here because of its dominant swing. We're coming to a 50 or to a golden zone. There's likely to be participation there. So does that mean that we're going to that algo target? Well, again, you trade them until they fail. Now, if this starts to break, if we start to roll over here, well, then we break. Well, so there you lose that algo, but there'll be, there'll be algos along the way, right? You'll have this one to deal with, then you'll have this one, then this one, then this one, then the big one. So trend is your friend, right? Why are you looking to short that? But if you were looking to short that, again, my suggestion is always, why try and pick the top? It's just no reason to do it. Give me a lower high, and then I can take that trade. Regardless of where your target is, at least here, I've got the potential for a lower high. If we come to break this, lower low. Maybe I've got the start on a new trend. Maybe it's just the 4 before we kick up for the 5. Again, you're not going to know. So what's the advantage of doing the subdivision here? It increases that probability here. If it does start to roll over, well, then you know where you are. I think we didn't quite make the, I recall from my look. Yeah, well, we did. So here was the ones here. So here's your high probability zone for the 3. So again, not that we couldn't be relabeling, but it looks like a fairly solid count. We know this was technical. We just hit the algo target. Are we running out of steam? There's a lot of evidence to suggest even just the arc of this, as it looks like it's going to roll over. But I wouldn't assume. Well, let's put it this way. If we look at that count, if this is corrective and this we have an impulse, we wouldn't be thinking A, B. Could you? Boy, I haven't even tried. Could you? It just doesn't look like it's not a B. Right? It's an impulse. So you wouldn't be thinking, oh, A, B. Now you could possibly be thinking A, B, C. So maybe on a larger degree, you could have A, B, C. That's possible, certainly. Again, back to what we were talking about before. Maybe right when I started, we've seen this trend. A, B, C. Maybe. So to kind of wrap up here, I wouldn't go near a short up here. Why? Why? This is clearly trending higher. Look how far we are from the Vegas wave. Now, intraday, short-term stuff, no problem. I have no problem taking a short. If it's not after 2:30 in the afternoon, that's one of my hard rules. I never short the S&P in the afternoon after 2:30. It's just, it's not from lack of trying. I lost so much money doing it. It's now a hard rule for me. Now, so here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You know, I mean, again, I wouldn't. I would hedge anything that was trying to be short here. I'd want it hedged. So maybe a call spread. You know, there's a number of different ways you could use options to put on a trade here to get a negative delta to take advantage if we're going to get. So if it is A, right? Well, of course, it's either 1 or A. It's definitely not B. Clear impulse, right? All the subdivision impulsive. It's a. Boy, I'm trying to see if you could even dig it out of there. Yeah, I don't think you can. I mean, if you fudged it along the way, probably you could probably get it. But if you're going to be very disciplined with the subdivision, it's just not there. It's an impulse. So if it's an A and we get a 3-wave into a B, is that I wouldn't shy away from the buy down here. I'd be looking long, seriously there. So let's put a little context. Again, just free drawing, but just a little symmetry. Does that look like a potential roadmap? If you got something like that, that's very tradable. This will be tradable. A into the B, looking for the C. If you're comfortable on the short side, no reason not to take that. But I wouldn't be assuming, oh, 1, 2. This, here comes the 3. No reason to assume that. Impulse, where do I want to look? 50 to the golden zone. If it does that, okay, well, you're going to get stopped out, right? You got a losing trade. But at least now you know, you have a better idea of where you are. If that goes into a 3, you'd be looking for the 4. If I can, bear with me while I fix my drawing. All right, we get something like that. Okay, great. All right, now I know where I am. Otherwise, why? Why would you assume? I've got an impulse. Why am I assuming 5 neck? Why am I assuming 5 followed by 5? I'm assuming 5 followed by 3. Here's where I want to be looking, right there for the next buy. And I'm not interested in selling up here, even though I can complete that impulse there. Now that's me. I'm not saying there's not a trade there. But if it's me, I would take it here rather than try and pick the top. There's just no reason to do it. Okay, great. You can post it up on Twitter. You're a hero. You pick the top. Good for you. That's not, it's not a... Let's hope that's not your motivation. What's your motivation? Looking for high probability trades with a good risk reward, where I can define my exposure, where I can be disciplined about the amount of risk that I'm accepting in that trade. So I'm comfortable with that. I sign it off. It fits my trade plan. I take the trade. If I'm stopped out, so be it. Next trade. If it's a winner, great. How can I manage that? Well, if it's A, B, and we come down to this level, does that mean you get out? Because we could do this. I certainly would be tightening up a stop. If I'm trailing with a stop, I might take a partial here. Might take another partial here. If that breaks, well, something else is happening. Here's the trade. Here's the next trade. If that breaks, then here's the next trade. Be patient. Pick your spots. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. A lot of times members will ask me for something over here and I'll end up on, be over on YouTube as people comment on it. Many times I'll analyze something for members, and my point to them will be there is no trade here in my view based on how I trade the market and how we teach trading. Hey, you're over on YouTube and you're bitching, well, where's the trade? Where's the trade? Give me a trade. Well, number one, that's not my purpose. That's not my objective, is to give you a trade. You decide. If you like what you see here and you can follow along with that, it's not that complicated. Well, let's simplify. Swing, retrace, lower high. Do I get a lower low? Do I have the start of a trend? Simple. Don't like the Elliott? Keep it simple. Shit, put some moving averages on here. Look, here's the Vegas wave. Tested it, tested it. Are we going to break the Vegas wave? Come back, retest it from the other side? There's a reason for a trade. Maybe it's, what do we know? We know a B, right? If we do something like that, we come right to the golden zone. Again, very low risk short. Why not? Why would you not take that trade? Unless you're just ultra bullish. And let's put this in context if I can do it. So if this were to come up something like this, oh, shit, I'm not gonna be able to do it. Okay, so let's do it this way. So we get that, there's your high probability target for the third. So if we get something like this, why would you not take that? Right now you know where you are. Once you get to the 4, not that it couldn't fail, right? Note right here, this sure looked, right as I took you through it before, this sure looked like 1, 2, 3 was coming in. There was the 4. There's no certainty. You even had a little ABC in there. There's no certainty. You don't know what's coming. Nobody knows what's coming. You just, you plan. You wait for your spots. You wait until okay, I have a solid idea of where I am in this count. If you're not using Elliott Wave, you're using something else. Structure, market geometry, shit, moving averages, whatever you're using, whatever works for you. Pick your spots. You don't trade just to trade. That's not the point. All right, guys. So again, we've got this contest running. If you're interested in our membership, it's pretty good promotion. We're running links underneath it, right? Very easy to enter. Tweets and retweets get you entries. I've been through it a couple of times. So there's a reminder. And just again, all right, choose your pitch. Okay, guys. Talk to you later.